The sun had barely risen over the quiet neighborhood of Torrance, California, casting golden hues over the suburban landscape. In a cozy little house, 4-year-old Evan sat on the floor, his tiny hands assembling blocks with a concentration far beyond his years. To his parents, he was an exceptionally bright child, always drawn to puzzles, logic games, and patterns. But little did they know that within him lay a musical genius waiting to be uncovered. One fateful afternoon, as his mother strolled through the mall, she noticed a newly opened music store with grand pianos displayed in the window. She held Evan's hand as they walked inside, the polished surfaces of the instruments reflecting his wide-eyed curiosity. With an instinctive pull, Evan let go of his mother's grip and walked straight to an upright piano. He pressed a single key, then another and another, his face lighting up with each sound. His mother watched, mesmerized, as he continued to tap the keys, producing a surprisingly coherent melody. A store attendant who had been observing approached with a smile. "Does he play?" he asked. "No," his mother responded, shaking her head. "He's never even touched a piano before." The attendant knelt beside Evan. "Hey little guy, do you want to try something?" Evan nodded eagerly, his fingers dancing over the keys with a natural grace. The store's owner, a retired pianist, happened to be nearby and overheard the interaction. Curious, he stepped forward and played a few chords, watching in amazement as Evan repeated them effortlessly. The boy wasn't just mimicking, he was understanding the music. The owner gasped, recognizing what musicians called perfect pitch, a rare gift that allowed a person to identify and replicate notes without guidance. "Your son is special," he told Evan's mother. "He has a gift." That evening, as they left the store, Evan's mother bought him a small keyboard, unaware that this simple purchase would change the course of his life forever. From the moment Evan touched the keys of his new keyboard, his world transformed. Each note, each chord, each sequence seemed to come to him as naturally as breathing. His tiny fingers moved across the keys with astonishing ease, his ear instinctively guiding him to the right notes. While other children his age were still learning the alphabet, Evan was composing melodies that carried emotions far beyond his years. His parents were amazed yet cautious. Could a child so young truly possess such an extraordinary gift? They decided to test him. His mother played random notes on the keyboard, and without hesitation, Evan named them perfectly. His father played chords and Evan replicated them effortlessly. It was undeniable. Evan had absolute pitch, a rare ability possessed by only the most gifted musicians. Word quickly spread through the family, then to friends and soon even to neighbors. One evening, a local music teacher, intrigued by the rumors of the 4-year-old Prodigy, paid a visit to the house. She introduced herself and sat at the piano, challenging Evan with complex melodies. To her astonishment, he not only played them back but also improvised, adding his own flair to the compositions. "This is beyond talent," she whispered to Evan's parents. "This is genius." Encouraged, Evan's parents decided to enroll him in formal piano lessons, but traditional lessons didn't suit him. Instead of learning note by note, Evan learned entire compositions in mere days. His teacher, both awed and perplexed, realized that Evan was different. He didn't need conventional training. He needed an environment that nurtured his raw brilliance. Opportunities soon followed. A small local competition invited Evan to perform, and despite his age, he played with the confidence of a seasoned pianist. The audience gasped as his tiny hands moved fluidly across the keys, creating a sound so rich, so powerful, that it brought some to tears. That night, as Evan stood under the warm glow of the stage lights, he felt something stir deep inside him. This was more than just playing. This was where he belonged. Evan's performance at the local competition had sparked something much bigger than anyone could have anticipated. Word of his talent spread beyond the small circles of his community, reaching local news stations and music enthusiasts. Soon, his parents were flooded with invitations for Evan to appear at events, competitions, and even television shows. One such invitation stood out: a prestigious talent showcase in Los Angeles. Despite his young age, Evan was offered a spot among musicians decades older than him. The thought of playing on such a grand stage should have intimidated a child, but Evan wasn't like most children. Instead of fear, his heart brimmed with excitement. The day of the showcase arrived, and the concert hall buzzed with anticipation. Backstage, Evan sat calmly, swinging his little legs as he waited for his turn. The other performers, some seasoned artists with years of training, looked at him with curiosity and amusement. Could a 4-year-old really hold his own on a stage of this caliber? As Evan stepped onto the stage, the audience murmured in disbelief. Dressed in a tiny tuxedo, he barely reached the piano bench. But the moment he placed his fingers on the keys, the world around him vanished, leaving only the music. The opening notes of his piece rang through the hall, and within seconds, the skepticism in the audience transformed into awe. His performance was not just technically perfect, it was emotional, expressive, and powerful. Every keystroke carried a depth far beyond his years. When he struck the final note, there was a brief moment of silence before the concert hall erupted in applause. The audience rose to their feet, clapping and cheering as tears welled in the eyes of some spectators. Backstage, talent scouts and journalists swarmed around Evan and his parents. The event's director, a renowned musician himself, approached Evan with admiration. "You young man are not just talented, you are extraordinary." That night, offers came flooding in. Media outlets wanted interviews, talent agencies wanted to sign him, and elite music schools wanted to nurture his gift. Evan, at just 4 years old, had entered a world far bigger than he had ever imagined. With offers pouring in and the world recognizing his talent, Evan's journey had only just begun. His parents, protective yet proud, navigated the overwhelming attention with caution. They wanted Evan to enjoy his gift, to nurture it without the pressures of fame overshadowing his childhood. Despite the growing recognition, Evan remained a playful and curious 4-year-old. Between performances, he still found time to build with blocks, play chess, and explore the world with wide-eyed wonder. But when he sat at the piano, something changed. His fingers transformed into storytellers, weaving emotions into melodies that resonated with audiences far beyond his years. Then came the opportunity of a lifetime. An invitation arrived from one of the world's most prestigious concert halls, Carnegie Hall in New York. The invitation wasn't just for an appearance but for a solo performance, a rare honor reserved for the greatest musicians. Evan's parents hesitated. Could their 4-year-old son handle such an overwhelming experience? But Evan's response was clear: he wanted to play. The night of the performance, the grand concert hall shimmered under golden chandeliers. The audience was filled with renowned musicians, critics, and high society elites. As Evan stepped onto the massive stage, he barely reached the piano bench, yet his presence was commanding. A hush fell over the hall as he placed his fingers on the keys. With the first note, the air shifted. Evan played a piece of his own composition, one that carried the emotions of his journey, his discovery of music, and the magic that had brought him to this moment. His small hands danced over the keys with the skill of a master, and every note held the weight of something far greater than his years. The audience was spellbound, lost in the beauty of the sound. As the final note faded, silence filled the hall for just a second, then the crowd erupted. A standing ovation shook the walls, applause and cheers filling the space like a thunderous symphony. Some in the audience wiped tears from their eyes, overcome with the sheer brilliance of his performance. Backstage, talent scouts and industry leaders eagerly awaited, offering record deals, performance invitations, and mentorship opportunities. But amidst the whirlwind of success, Evan remained true to himself. He wasn't playing for fame, he was playing for the love of music. As Evan and his family left Carnegie Hall that night, the world of music had changed. The child prodigy had arrived, and his journey had only just begun. His legacy had begun to take shape, one note at a time.